iPad guest, if you could change your name so that we know if you're supposed to be a panelist, that would be great.
It's usually Leanne.
Leanne.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll try to promote her to panelist. Okay. Okay. Madam Chair, you're all set to go.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda is presentation on goal setting.
So thank you. I know we have Brad from BME here and Arissa. For the COA board, one of the things that we're looking for as professional staff is for the COA board to set policy and to set strategic direction and goals. I think that is helpful to the staff, the professional staff, as they work to try to meet all of the needs of Needham seniors. It's also helpful as we try to go about getting resources for Needham seniors when we're trying to do budget justifications, when we're trying to apply for new funding, whether that's through the town or through grants. Having a document we can point to say, the Council on Aging had 6 meetings, they were in public, they talked about their priorities, and they came up with this document. So the fact that we're asking for $50,000, $100,000 isn't because the professional staff thinks it would be fun, it's because the people who are charged with monitoring and responding to the needs of Needham seniors say that this should be a priority. So I think there's value in the discussion itself, and then I think there's value in the end product in terms of giving us a mechanism by which to point and say, here are the people who are the experts, here are the priorities they've identified, and that's why we're asking for money, or that's why we're asking for this grant. There are 2 folks, I'm going to promote Sue to panelists as well, to help sort of facilitate this discussion, because it's often, if you have either staff facilitate it or a board member facilitate it, then they're not part of the actual discussion and planning. I want all of the members, the board members, to be able to participate. We asked BME, who's a contractor, to have staff assist and support that effort, including facilitating the discussions. So Arissa Ruano and Brad Clark are 2 of the folks that are going to work with you. And I wanted to give them just a brief minute to introduce themselves. We're not going to do goal setting this meeting, but it's going to be hopefully on your agenda for most of the fall, basically. Arissa?
Thank you so much, Tim, for the introduction, and thank you all for having us here virtually. It's a pleasure to meet you all that we haven't met. My name is Arissa Ruano. I'm a consultant at BME Strategies, and I'm going to pass the floor to Brad, who will be leading most of this work with you all. But it's really nice to meet you all. We're really happy to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you, Arissa, and thank you for the opportunity. As Arissa mentioned, my name is Brad Clark. I am one of the consultants at BME Strategies. I'm really excited about the opportunity to facilitate some discussions with you all. I think one of the things that often is not valued highly enough is the opportunity to take a step back from the sort of more day-to-day managerial board roles that you have, and really take time to think about where it is that we want to go, what are the key priorities that we want to set for the board, and how best are we going to get there. And so what my hope is for this process is that it's an engaging process, not just for yourselves, but to bring in the views of a diverse group of stakeholders. And we'll be looking to you to help guide us as far as who those different stakeholder groups might be, what the best way is to engage them, and really try and get a sense from your constituent groups what they think about the priority setting, and then you all will have the opportunity to brainstorm and think through those key themes and then what those goals might actually look like. We want this to be something that is achievable, but that is a stretch as well. So there's a balance there, and we hope that that we will be able to find that. That's our goal anyway. One question that we did have was just as insofar as setting the agenda and the flow of this process, is whether you all would be in favor of tacking on the goal setting discussions to your existing monthly COA board meeting, or whether you would prefer us to identify a different time to have a dedicated discussion about goal setting.
So Brad, I think the question here was the time factor. If we're talking about, you know, an hour, another hour, a half hour, before we ask the board to attack it onto our regular meetings, whether it would be, you know, more conducive to have an extra meeting in the month just set for this goal setting plan. So that would basically be, you know, asking you how much time you would think would be needed on a monthly basis, or how often we're going to do it for accomplishing this.
I would think 60 to 90 minutes to have a really good, robust conversation would be ideal. If we are not able to do that, then, you know, we can massage the process somewhat to make sure that we're able to do it in what you're able to provide. But ideally, I would think 90 minutes once a month would be fantastic. If we can only do 60 minutes, then that would be great. Yeah, what is the appetite of the board?
Okay, so I guess what I'd like to do is just kind of take a vote of the board as to what their preference would be. So, or a discussion, whether the vote would be easy, or if somebody wants to have a conversation about it before we do it.
So I think if it's 60 minutes, our meetings are generally only an hour. I'd rather attach it to the existing meeting rather than schedule an additional meeting.
Any other comment?
I have an opposite opinion. I'd rather have it treated separately.
Okay, anybody else?
Madam Chair,
All right, then
Sue's
I'd like to
hand
take-
is,
I'm
sorry, Madam Chair, Sue's hand is raised online. Sue
Oh,
Mulaney.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hi, everyone.
I Sue.
I joined a second too late, I think. Are we having regular meetings to set our strategies and goals, or are we learning how to do that?
Yes, that we have a consulting firm that is going to be working with us for setting, you know, goals for the foreseeable future. It's something that is being done in other departments as well. And
So
I think
how many meetings does it take for us to learn how to set the goals?
I don't know if
Or
you're-
are you helping us set the goals and then monitoring our progress toward the goals?
So I think it would be the work of the professional staff to monitor the implementation and to be able to report back to the board. The consulting team would facilitate your discussions. So try to keep you guys focused, try to have manageable chunks. I think what Brad had sort of just posed as the question was, do we do it as an addition to the existing COA meeting, or is it a separately scheduled meeting? And Brad, I don't know if you had a sense of, you know, is it 5 hours cumulative? So that's, you know, an hour and a half for 3 months. That's 1 hour for 5 months. Do you have a sense of what that is?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at, Tim. Thank you.
I think if realistically we're looking at the first meeting probably being in October, I would imagine October, November, December, and probably finalizing the goals, or having an aim to finalize the goals by January. So I would think that we're probably looking at 3 to 4 meetings over that time, given that it might be difficult to get people together in December.
Okay, Ed?
My experience with doing this, and I have worked with this group before, that we're gonna need a separate meeting to do that. It does take at least an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to get everybody to do your input. For them to go back and analyze what we said and then come back and talk again. It should be separate meetings.
Okay.
Subcommittee.
Could do that as well.
You know, I'm not objecting to that. The reason I said to put it on the existing meeting, I think the difficulty with the time and schedule of everyone else to schedule an extra meeting a month is tough.
Does anybody have a problem with adding an extra hour and a half onto our regularly scheduled meetings? So they're so it would be 5 to 7:30.
Yeah, that's a little long.
After this.
You know, yeah,
I totally agree. I think that, I think what we're trying to do here is to focus. And I think if the meeting gets to be too long, we tend to waver our thoughts. So my thinking would be maybe a separate meeting, but I don't know what kind of timing people have. I mean, that's presumptuous of me to assume that.
Should we vote for a separate meeting? Brad and I would happily handle all of the coordination and send out doodle polls and kind of figure out everyone's scheduling. So we won't be asking you all to find the meeting time, if that helps make a decision.
okay. Ann?
Someone mentioned a subcommittee. I have thoughts on whether we need to meet an hour and a half for approximately.
I personally am not in favor of a subcommittee. I just think this is something that this group as a board should be discussing as a whole. You know, and you know, subcommittees work to a certain point, but then it's only coming back and redoing the whole thing all over again with opinions and so on and so forth. So I would rather that it be a whole, an entire committee group that meets.
Yeah, I think there is also value in each of the COA members hearing what the others are saying and what they're prioritizing.
Right. So it looks like, it would be a separate meeting, which is going to be, very tricky. Is that the consensus of the board to do a separate meeting rather than to have a 2.5 hour meeting? It is a long meeting, I know, I've been to them. Any, can I have a show of hands just so we know, that everybody's actually in favor of that?
An extra meeting.
Of an extra meeting. Okay, great, that will be the plan, and good luck to you finding.
That's me. Number one.
Okay. Thank you all so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so appreciate the time. Thank you.
We'll move on relatively quickly as I try to both talk and also.
Tim, can you talk a little louder, please?
Sorry, I was saying we'll move on relatively quickly as I try to both remove them from panelists and also think of what I'm saying. Our next topic is the renovation to the Center at the Heights. It's in the design phase right now. We have Hank from Building Design and Construction, who I think all of you know, and we have Nancy from BH&A, which is the project architect. BH&A did our space utilization study. They also were the architect firm that did the Cath building originally. So a lot of institutional knowledge at BH&A about this building and the process it has gone through. The architect team is going to present, Nancy's going to present a lot of information right now. I wanted to tell you just briefly as a quick summary. As folks remember, we had a process where we set priorities for renovations to the senior center. Last fall, as part of the capital submission, I came back to you and said, okay, these are your priorities, right? And you said, no, I think we want to prioritize everything. We want everything at once. We want it to go forward. The town manager was, I think, very nice and found all of the money for that. for that design work. So we sort of moved everything up instead of being spread out over 10 years. You know, the kitchen, the vestibule, the game room, the fitness room, all moved up sort of one big project. And as we've gotten into the thinking about it and thinking about continuing services during construction, I'm really, really glad that that was happening. I can't imagine sort of sustaining services while construction goes on for 8 years. Right now, the design work is going on and Nancy's going to present some of the information. We need to get a sense from you if we're on the right track. We also need, or I need to understand and hear your support for the project, because it isn't sufficient that I tell the town manager or the Permanent Public Building Committee that this is a priority. The COA board members need to be actively supportive of this in the community and with other town officials like the select board and the finance committee. They need to be talking about how this is a need for Needham seniors. There's a lot of investment that the town is considering in capital plans over the future. A small percentage of that is targeted towards seniors. I think an appropriate, maybe not an appropriate percentage, a not extravagant percentage, that's for sure. And I think, you know, when there is concern about does the town have enough money to do things, I want to make sure that the COA board is saying, yes, we think we need this. Yes, we think it'll help seniors. Yes, we're supportive of this. So I wanted to sort of set that as the stage, and then I'll turn it over to Hank and Nancy to go through the process and the deck.
Yes, I think you have all met us before. I'm really going to take questions, let Nancy walk us through the slides. And as we go, I guess should we hold questions to the end, or should we?
It's up to you.
Yeah, I guess we can take questions.
I think that's a better, you know, so people can really understand what the process, what you're talking about, what the process is, because some of this is a little confusing. Having seen it twice already.
And we'll confuse you a bit more.
Thank you.
We'll try. But let me just take the first slide, the next slide. During the feasibility study, we talked about several things. One was the kitchen transition to a commercial kitchen from what is considered to be a residential kitchen. The second was a vestibule added to the back side or the east side of the building. The third was to enlarge the fitness room. And as we know, on the ground floor on this, it's called out as the exercise room. It's currently the fitness room, and the game room is across the hall from that. Initially, we were talking about just swapping the two. As we've been going through the study, we've looked at bringing the game room to the second floor into the space that would be adjacent to this room and take over the room that's adjacent to that. So it would more or less take over this whole corner of the second floor. And that would include the billiards table and the ping pong table. So that's a little bit of what I'll call scope creep, enlargement of the scope, because it involves moving to the second floor. And I'll let Nancy let you take over from there and just walk through the rest of the slides.
Okay. So there are 3 sections. I'll talk about the vestibule first. The location of the new vestibule, as Hank described it, it's on the side of the building facing the parking lot. And this is so, it seems like most people want to enter through that door anyway. And this way you'll have a place to sign in, you'll have a handicap accessible entrance, and also keep the weather out of the space. So those are good reasons to do this. So the dotted line shows where the vestibule is going to go. I want to go to the next slide. So we have just issued schematic design drawings for pricing. So this is in progress, but these look like regular construction drawings, but you may or may not understand it. But the middle one shows the plan, and you can see there are entrances from both sides of the vestibule. If you look at the middle one, on the right side is the parking lot, the left side is the building. So you could come in from either side, but we think that the majority of the people are gonna come in through the side, on the upper side of the drawing. So that side would have, a canopy over, the next slide. And this is, an axonometric and an elevation showing what it would look like on the outside. And we're going to line up the windows up above and sort of make this thing just looks like the windows came out and slid over and fits right into the building. Any questions on the vestibule before we go to the kitchen? Yes,
So our handicap is on the left of that, correct?
Yes,
So I just wanna make sure there's good access to that door right there.
there'll be equal access.
Equal access, and the hangover will be on both sides?
no, we're planning, because if you look at this drawing, we're planning the extension, the canopy over the entrance on the far side, because if we had it on both sides, it would interfere with the windows.
But everyone's gonna be coming in on the left
But there's
side.
We're gonna be restriping,
But there's no hangover on the left door, correct?
there's not, but we are gonna be restriping the parking lot.
Yes.
Okay, you're gonna redo how they come in.
I think since we added the 2 handicap spaces along Hillside,
Right.
that those spaces, people normally would come to the very front door. And we would probably restripe so that the majority, if not all of the handicap spaces are more in the middle.
Okay, because right now they're to the left.
Correct.
And there would be handicapped access buttons on all of the doors. The 2
Will
outside.
they have a
doors,
thing instead of having to go up to the door and then, will the doors come out or in?
They have to egress out
For fire code.
for fire code,
Mm-hmm.
but you have a hand control on the outside. And we would, I
There
think,
won't be a button before you get there. It's just hard to get up, hit it, and then have the door come out at you.
there'll
be a button back here.
I think we could look at that.
When you get to the door.
Yep.
Okay.
On both sides.
So you're thinking someone in a, like, not on the parking lot side, someone on the building side, if they're approaching from here,
There should be a button like
There
where
should
that
be a little-
corner thing is.
little pedestal or something with a button
Yeah,
on it
they have
that
a
would be at
town
waist
Hit it,
level.
And then you go in, just because it's hard to, in a wheelchair to go up, hit it,
Something
and
right
then come
here.
back.
or
People
could
sometimes
could it
they
be
drop
on the
We could put
outside
it on the
face?
outside, so
Yeah.
when you walk up in the parking lot, you touch the button, and then the door opens and then it would, then you wouldn't have to build a separate bollard, but a lot of times they do put a bollard, which has to.
So it'd be on the parking lot side, so to speak, or the front of that.
We can investigate.
Yeah,
that
I think
one
we're gonna
also.
look at some options and then we'll come back and show that
Okay.
detail.
But I think you're,
Just get into a wheelchair, pull up, see how it is.
Yep.
That's the best way to do it, on your own, without no one pushing you. Get in there, because that's what happened when I broke my leg, and it was just like, I can't get in anywhere, because I can't get to it, pull back, and then get in.
one other consideration, this part of the parking lot, I don't know if people can see the mouse moving right there. Across on the train tracks, is going to have, an emergency generator that will, not an emergency generator, a generator that will back up the power for the senior center permanently. It will take up some parking spots. So agreed with your point about people could access it from both sides, but the there will be much more parking on the sort of the, I don't know if that's the north side of the vestibule rather than the south side of the vestibule.
Want to go back to the kitchen? So the kitchen renovation, we've got a pretty substantial demolition. We're planning to keep the existing counter that's at the window, the service window, and most of the other areas will be removed and will be replaced with new appliances for the commercial kitchen. Everything that you see in red is new. So the existing pantry area, those cabinets will be moved into this area, which is currently the break room. And then you're gonna have new cabinets, shelving in this area, which is red, and there'll be a walk-in freezer and cooler in that area. And then coming down into the main kitchen space, on the left, you're gonna have a new combi oven and it's gonna be new, we're gonna keep the existing plumbing and put in new cabinets on both of the other walls. And then some out in the middle, the large island, which is the teaching space now, is gonna come out, and they're gonna be these work tables. These are stainless steel work tables that can be reconfigured. One of the things, this is being priced, but we're also pricing an alternate for a new hood, and then the existing grease trap is gonna need to be upgraded. Oh, it needs to be basically double the size of the one that you have. So we're looking at that as well.
Yeah, so that would involve jackhammering up the floor, enlarging, putting in a new system and then connecting.
And then if you move to the next slide, you can see the cabinet demolition. Everything that's dotted is coming out, and the things that are not dotted are gonna stay. Next slide.
What happens to the cabinets?
That remains to be seen. I think it was brought up that, you know, we'd like to reuse them, but I'm not sure if somebody knows of a use for them.
On the next two slides,
Yeah.
as part of that kitchen renovation, if you go back one slide, two slides, there we go. We would be taking out the break area. And that break area is currently here. And making that into a much larger pantry. And rather than having freestanding refrigerator and freezer, it would be more like what they have at schools, where you have a large box, a room. You go through the first door, you get into the refrigerator, you go through the second door, you get into the freezer. So in taking that space away, which is currently a break room for staff, you go to the next slide. There are several different options as to where the break room could occur, and so some of those cabinets could potentially be reused in this location.
So we've looked at, there's three options here. We can go through these quickly. In this conference room, we're looking at, on the first drawing, it's putting the cabinets on the left side of the room. You can see an elevation of what that would look like. And move on to the next slide. Or it could go on the opposite side of the room, which I think is actually much better because it doesn't restrict the room around the table. And it looks like it belongs there because it's an alcove. So the table can still be centered, the lights can be over the table, and the room is more balanced. So I personally think this is a good option for design reasons.
You think when you're talking and describing these, you think go up and.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I don't have a pointer because he's doing it, but yeah, I can point. So yeah, so the first option showed the cabinets on this wall, which if you want to keep the table centered, this is really not a desirable space between, you know, for chairs and getting in and out of cabinets. You could do it in a pinch, but it's not ideal. So this option is much better because you have the cabinets look like they go there, doesn't impede the, you know, conference table at all.
Getting into the cafeteria, into the cafe.
So this isn't the cap, this is the second floor conference room?
The upstairs conference room.
Oh, that's the upstairs conference.
Yes.
So the
small conference room upstairs across from Latanya's, and we've already got a table there. So that space is already utilized, so it would be just using it for something else.
I think
Yes?
I didn't originally think that we were going to have to take the break room. In order to have a functioning kitchen, we will. I don't think it's appropriate to not have an area where staff could have lunch. Not all staff have private offices, for example, so they need someplace where they can have lunch. You could say they could have lunch in the cafe, but they're interacting with seniors all day. They might need a few minutes to themselves. So we need to figure out another option. We looked at the basement as an option, putting a break room in the basement. We looked at the conference room, and we looked at the nurses/veterans office.
So that's the next slide if you want to move to the third one.
Can I ask a question about the previous one before we move on, though?
Sure.
That conference room is used a lot by the social work department because not all social workers have their own office. So I'm concerned if that becomes a break room.
Is it used during lunchtime?
What?
Is it used during lunchtime? Is that
I
essentially?
think it
when-
would probably be
Yeah.
unavailable from 11 to 1 or
That's
11:30 to
yeah,
1.
that's a concern on my end,
Mhm.
because we have social workers over there and two that share an office that need private meeting space, and that would effectively take away our private space.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point, and that's why we're having this discussion here. So these are just options, certainly very important consideration. So the other one is this office, which is the Nurse and Veterans Office. And it is, again, something for you to consider how it's used. It's not ideal to put the kitchen behind a desk. If this were going to be a multi-purpose type, small conference meeting room that had a small table in the middle, that would work out better. So these are things for you to think about how you can use it. Could certainly be done. The other point with this is that there's this existing counter and it's not high enough for an under-counter refrigerator. So this would have to be altered in order to put an under-counter refrigerator in there.
I think it is going to be a question of what we prioritize, what we balance. If staff think they don't need a break room, that's one thing. I guess our default is to think that staff do need a break room. I think the challenge of going in the basement is the break room would be much more expensive to make an uninhabited space habitable, for lack of a better word. And certainly the veterans and nurses office is used, although not all the time, but certainly significantly on Thursdays. So that's challenging, at least in,
Mondays as well.
what's that?
It's gonna be used Mondays as well because the deputy veterans is here on
Okay.
Monday, regular VSO is on here Thursdays.
Yep.
We no longer have a space at the town hall.
Yep, and so some of it might be me having to go to the town manager and say, we don't have room at CAF, it has to go back to town hall. I don't think that's ideal either, but a lot of it is, what are we prioritizing? There's going to be some amount of disruption. In which way can we minimize the disruption? I think that's sort of an open question.
I think when we were talking about it, I had also suggested that where the copier is, if there could be a way, if we could have office pods. I was thinking that may be an area where a social worker could meet with someone. They're rather pricey though, but I thought that would, so they can also have privacy.
I think that's something we can look into. I think we also have the challenge, so I don't think anything is off the table, but we do have the challenge of, what can we afford for the price? The town hasn't approved the construction money yet, but we said there was going to be a certain cost. If we're close to that cost, it's probably easier to convince the town than saying, the cost has gone up by $500,000. So it's all sort of a series of balances and trade-offs, and how the professional staff and especially the appointed board prioritizes things is going to go a long way to helping figure that out.
Is the kitchen, once it's a commercial kitchen, kind of out of use for the regular staff? Like right now, we do programming and our own meal service there, and our staff have refrigerators for lunch there. Like, is that kitchen no longer our spot?
You could certainly still do a class or two there, but no, it wouldn't be, it would be like a restaurant kitchen. You wouldn't be able to go in and keep your own food there.
That's a big shift.
Yeah. I think you definitely need a break room for staff.
I agree.
I think that's not negotiable. Okay,
It's
so where
just
we put it,
where it is, yeah.
and I sat through one meeting where the basement was the location. And I don't know what the cost differential is.
It's a
but
lot.
It just seems to me that'd be a good place for the staff, because then they can get away from
Really away from everything.
us.
Okay.
John, you mentioned an office on the roof. I wonder if that could go in the basement and make it more intimate.
I can send you one,
Appropriate.
I'll send it to all the boards so they can see what they look like you can get them where the two people can share it, and you can get them a lot larger, just to get an idea of what they look like.
Oh, looks like it just. That way you don't get into high cost, well, maybe not, I don't know, that cost of the office probably would be to make the inhabitable space habitable. If it's a reasonable cost, I would certainly consider that. But I agree, staff need a place. Called,
But certainly moving, doing something in the basement, whether it's for the staff or wherever it is, and you turn around and you have to have water facilities and all the extra things that we don't have down there right at the moment to build a room, it's gonna add on to a budget that we're trying to keep as low as possible so we can get the budget passed. And I'm not saying that that might not happen or that will happen, but the point is, I think we need to look at as much space opportunities as we can without going into something that's going to add a lot more money to what we're looking at for the cost.
So there is no water, no piping, no electrical outlets.
Well, there's electricity down there, obviously, but
It would require, it would require a small lift pump to take any of the drainage and put it into the drain that goes out to the street. It's currently, a table height above the floor.
How much are you talking money?
I think it's, well, what we looked at was using what is the storeroom currently as that break room, and then putting in fencing around a zone in the rest of the basement that could be reserved specifically for custodial storage. And the initial numbers were in the 30 to 50,000 range. I don't think we looked very closely at the mechanical down there. And that was very schematic.
I think the existing closet off the internet, sorry. Is that sufficient space? Can that be considered as a break room?
It's pretty small.
It is small.
Yes, downstairs.
You know where they go,
yeah.
We could always take the gift shop, and then the people in the gift shop and the pool players will want to kill me.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned about how the staff would feel about the basement. Frankly.
Yeah.
I think you might get some pushback.
Sure.
Has anybody?
I know, Jess, I-
Really, Jess, that's why you're here. I mean.
I definitely think.
More staff as this is and
How
then
many
the things we
people
need to know. you
Are
know.
supposed to be in this room, and how many would be using it at a time?
In this room?
No, the room we're talking about, the break room,
Break room.
what we're trying to create for how many people at a time?
Sure, so there's 4 social work members, there's 2 assistant directors, a director, a transportation coordinator, and 4 or 5 van drivers, plus 4 programmatic staff and 2 Shine staff. Now, not all of them are here every day in person, but yeah, there could be, I would think there wouldn't be more than, I think it would be rare to have 6 or 8 people in the break room, but you could have 3 or 4 probably regularly.
Is there a way to expand that closet into the reception area? I'm just throwing out ideas, I don't have a good concept. space and what is due for space.
The square
Nervous
footage,
to Get a break there, because we'd be right as people.
Well, that's the
walk
thing,
in.
exactly.
Yeah.
This is almost nice just because they can't find you.
It's not that, but you
That's
try.
But I think what we're hoping to hear is concerns from, yeah, sorry, what we're hoping to hear is concerns from the staff, from the board, and balancing, you know, what things do we have control of, what things don't we have control of? So, you know, could we stagger work hours, or could we switch some work days? Could the social workers make use of the veterans office on the days the veterans agent or the deputy agent aren't there? You know, we probably will have a solution that is, I don't know, a little bit of a pain to everybody, right? That's the definition of compromise. No one's really happy. We got to figure out sort of what that is.
We do use that office for social work. Like, I'll
Oh,
give
good,
an
okay.
example. One of our social workers had to work out on the deck today because there was no empty space. Yeah,
They
I
were-
don't think she totally minded, but.
It wasn't a bad day to do that.
You know, she had to Zoom out there, so it's, I have concerns about the conference room, I will say, because we do need private spaces. So we
I was gonna say, for just thinking about the staff and from a director's perspective too, and include myself, I think the priorities are both for the social workers. They definitely need confidentiality when meeting with clients, and I also think it's very important that staff have some time away to themselves and take advantage of lunch, so, yeah. So we-
Recharge the batteries. I just want to go back to the kitchen, because I'm a baker. I just wanted to question, you're moving one of the dishwashers. I see one new dishwasher. Is there a second dishwasher somewhere?
yes,
Where's the second?
they're adjacent to each other. Now, they're all on that wall.
So this one says it's getting relocated. Existing dishwasher, reuse existing plumbing. So is that gonna be a dishwasher, a new one?
Yeah,
Is that what that means?
what's labeled DW, it says new ventless dishwasher.
Yeah,
But
and then
then-
where's the second one?
The other
Right
one is the
above.
relocated
The
one.
relocated one.
It's under the window,
Okay,
the smaller
So
one.
that,
so it's on each side of the sink.
Yeah.
correct?
and we have quite unfortunately had to replace both dishwashers in the last 6 months.
Oh, no.
So,
We have a new ice maker now,
yes.
We had to have one.
right? I remember that part.
So some of the things are breaking before we have a chance to implement this plan,
Time
but
limit.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
Want to make sure if it said relocated, I thought it got moved someplace else.
So the issue with just the break room is then to make a decision on the priorities of which room you want to give up.
so I think based on what we've heard today, we probably have to put together, you know, a decision matrix or what are the trade-offs, and that's something that Hank and I can work on.
From an existing condition square footage perspective, the existing break room is about the same square footage as the gift shop. Just so you understand how big it is. And part of the reason we were looking at the conference room was because it backs up to the bathrooms and there's water in those walls. Another option would be at the end of this room. But this is a larger room that would be needed. And but it also is near to that water and drainage. I don't know if we want to explore that as yet another variation.
I think there's also a tension between preserving programmatic space for seniors versus having office space for staff. And I don't mean to imply that office space is not used for the benefit of seniors, but I think that is one of the tensions. When the building opened, there was a much smaller mental health and social work component than there is now, and that's a good thing, but that is one of the challenges we're running up against.
Is the reading room used a lot?
The library.
The library?
Yeah, we use it for programming.
It is the source of almost all of our building temperature-related complaints, though, so if we got rid of that, people go there have the heat on, the fireplace on, and feel nice and toasty, and maybe take a little nap, and then leave the room and think it's freezing,
Well, it probably is.
comparatively.
Like right now.
Okay, I know we want to,
You want to move on to the game room?
yeah,
So the game room and the fitness room, switch around. The fitness room was the biggest, problem area because as you can see, it's very crowded. They have new equipment, so they wanted to expand it. And you can just see that things could get better. So you move to the next slide. And then here's the existing game room, which you are very familiar with. We are looking at moving pretty much everything that's in here except the only one computer table and the 2 billiard tables and 1 ping pong table will go upstairs. And so this room will then become the new fitness room. So this is the end plan with the fitness room here. This room would become dance room, exercise room, which is, I think, what this room is used for mostly. So we have to try to relocate that equipment that's going to be needed somewhere down here. So that still has to be done. And then the game room, then there's your 2 billiard tables, ping pong table, a few chairs around here, and then 1 computer table right there. So in order to do this game room, this is currently 2 rooms. And we're going to take a corner out of the hallway to make that space. Now, if you move on, I'll show you the, let's see.
and to answer, maybe to preempt questions, we believe that we can provide many of the functions that occur in the computer room now without having sort of a static format that's locked. Using laptops, using other program space, we believe we can accommodate the needs of the Shine Open Enrollment and the ARP tax counseling without having kind of locked ourselves into a format that doesn't allow much flexibility other times of the year.
So we're still working with the fitness people to get all of the equipment located. This was the plan that was done in the feasibility study. And I did get some information. It doesn't look like there are too many pieces of equipment that are requiring power. So we may be able to handle it. So we're gonna go through this plan one more time to confirm that. So if you move on to the next slide, I will show you what, oh, do we have the demo? He must have taken the demo plan out. Maybe he didn't care. The demo plan was just gonna show you what was being removed. But anyway, so this is what you're gonna end up with. This room, fitness over here, no construction over here, except for we're gonna add a ballet bar and a mirror on this wall. And then again, we have to confirm the storage to make sure there's enough room for everything that goes in there.
It's the next slide, is the demo. No one,
This is our, is there just a floor demo plan? Maybe
no,
not.
one more slide.
I think it got deleted somehow.
Try one more. There you go.
Okay, yeah, so this shows you what it looks like currently. The 2 rooms, this wall comes out, this closet comes out, and we're gonna take these doors and rotate them because they have to swing out. I'll show you, and so for egress, because of the number of occupants in this room, the door needs to swing out. And then we also are gonna be adding another door here between the new game room and this room to give that second means of egress because of the number of people that could be in that room. And then, so this would be a new wall that would come out into the hallway. Take a little corner out of the hallway. Does anyone have a question on the removal of these rooms and the
So
creation of the game room?
the fitness room is going from 1,000 square feet to 1,300, is that correct?
Yes.
There would be at least 2 or 3 additional pieces of equipment.
Yes.
And if you want to go back to the RCP, we skipped over that because I wanted to get to the demo plan. I'm not sure if y'all are interested, but we're planning on reusing these light fixtures that are currently over the billiard tables and bring them upstairs, and then all of the little down lights so that the game room ambiance that you have now will be moved upstairs. And then no changes to the lighting in this room. And then if you move on to the other RCP, we would get new fixtures, a similar look, but new LED fixtures for the new fitness room.
And one of our balances with the electrical is what is needed now versus potentially what's giving us flexibility in the future if there's a higher ratio of powered equipment in the future.
And what,
Is that expected that, I mean, I don't know, I was surprised with the list that came in, so many of them don't need power. So are you thinking that you want to provide more power for future?
I think I'd really love to not go to the town manager and say I need money for some little addition to Kath in 5 or 6
Right,
years.
right, yeah.
Well, I think that the relevant question when we were before the finance committee that made me a little uncomfortable was they questioned whether the fitness room was gonna have enough space. And they said, you're gonna come back to us in 5 years.
Right.
And I was a little uncomfortable with that because I don't really know.
The answer is gonna have to be no.
Yeah, right, I know that.
Because there's just no space.
Right.
Right.
and I think having the exercise room and the fitness room across the hall from each other as opposed to upstairs and downstairs
Yeah.
gives you a lot more flexibility. If you had to move or add some smaller equipment
Right.
to that room, it
Right.
could be
Yeah,
done.
that's what I was
And
thinking.
that was a conversation we initially had, Nancy, if you remember, with the fitness group that they said, you know, if there's a smaller, some particular, like in the balance machine or something like that, could wind up in the fitness room if there's.
You mean in the
overcrowding.
exercise room? Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, I'm sorry, the exercise room, yes.
So the exercise room is going to be overflow for the fitness room.
Well,
I hope
hopefully
not.
not. Hopefully not. That's not the idea, but I know, exactly. They just need to have some control.
What happens when all this construction's going on? Will they still be going on in this building?
I think the answer is yes. We still have to figure out exactly what that looks like. The timeline for some of the construction could be challenging. I think one of the ideas, aside from the programmatic benefit of having the fitness room and the exercise room across from each other, is that it would allow us to sort of start doing things. We could, for example, move the game room up here, then move the fitness room into the game room, then finish the exercise room, and we would potentially be able to keep those things with minimal disruption. What is not going to be minimal disruption is food service. How will we provide food service for the congregate lunch program while the kitchen is under construction? And that's a big open question that I'm working on. I think it's a question of what alternative things we could come up with. The timeline is, and we're looking to explore if there's alternatives, the timeline is 6 months for the construction of the kitchen. And that's a long period of time to come up with an interim solution.
But the food service program, it'll still continue, right? We won't just stop with the congregate meals and not have.
I don't feel comfortable stopping it. I think the question is, how do we do it? You know, does North Hill provide the meals for us and we bring them here and we still eat, you know, in the multi-purpose room? Does it switch from being sort of a hot lunch to a boxed lunch for 6 months? Is that a good solution? You know, could we use the cafeteria at one of the schools during the summer, maybe with the superintendent's approval, but that's 2 months of the year, or maybe 2 months and 2 weeks, right? It's not 6 months. So I think that's a number of the challenges. So we have to figure out sort of what we want programmatically, and then we have to figure out how to provide alternatives while construction's underway.
Yeah, and just to be clear, so when this is all done, our food service program, as we know it, is gonna be no more is the goal, that you'll be hiring like a chef or someone to prepare meals in-house. I just wanna bring up the point to make sure, like, are we planning ahead so that's a seamless process? Because right now our continental breakfast and our lunch are some of our biggest service. And if we're not gonna have access to that kitchen, you know, right now we're getting food from Loving Spoonfuls, we're getting our meals from Springwell for free.
Yep.
Like if that's a huge budget change for us, and a huge operational change, so I just wanna make sure kind of the board is aware, like as we discuss this process, that, you know, one of our biggest programs, it sounds like is gonna be no more, so that we're thinking ahead of how we're gonna replace these two programs we're offering, and will that be seamless?
Will that be seamless? That'll be challenging.
I'm guessing not, I don't, you know, have my head in the
That's
clouds,
the
but.
price of the chef in our budget.
Yeah, I mean,
The
right now,
town know that.
like the breakfast program is sort of a culture here, you know, you have
Right.
Tom knows everyone's orders, you know, before you even get there, you know, we have volunteers in there. Once it becomes a commercial kitchen, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it is gonna change the feel down there. And I just wanna make, food service has always been a priority. And Tanya, would you agree? Yeah, for us, and I just wanna make sure that as we move forward in this design process, we're not kind of.
Is it intended that those would go away? I mean, I thought you were gonna continue your current.
The
programs,
intention
and
is
this is
to,
just expanding your possibilities.
the intention is to not do Springwell lunches and to produce fresher, better tasting meals in-house. To also be able to do the traveling meals program, because the hospital is gonna get around to kicking us out again. But that's a big ask. So we're asking the town for these renovations, which the kitchen, you know, is at least $1 million of. The bigger question is, okay, now we want to run a food service program. We may be able to run the selling the meals and the buying the ingredients as a revolving fund that sort of balances each other out. But who pays for the staffing? That would be the town. Is that a cost the town is willing to take on? You know, I can say it's very easy. We can, you know, we can just have extra custodial supplies and staffing to do the cleaning and stuff. I'm sure the DPW director would be like, well, that's an additional cost. So it's a big ask. We're asking for expanded facilities and then we're asking for the staff to run them.
Does the town know, like, is that a stupid question, but like, does the town know we're gonna be asking for a lot more money for staffing? Like, is that sort of?
It's not guaranteed, but it's gonna be a future form in this year's budget. There is also the question of timing, right? If we're in fiscal 26 right now, we will have, Hank, correct me please if I'm wrong, we'll have design plans that will go out to bid sometime in, oh, I'm sorry, keep going. So there's a rough cost estimate. But yes, the idea is that potentially we would have money in the start of 27. Whether it's realistic to actually do the construction at the beginning of 27, especially when we're talking about potentially, you know, pieces of equipment and things that need to be bought, which no contractor is going to buy until we have a signed contract. We're probably looking, you know, the very end of fiscal 27, beginning of fiscal 28. Does that mean maybe halfway through fiscal 28, we'd be looking to start a food service operation, or do we wait till the beginning of fiscal 29? It's a long way away, but those are a lot of the questions we have to figure out.
Tim, I have another question. So we would have like a breakfast program and a lunch program along with the traveling meals, right?
So I think the ultimate goal would be to have breakfast, lunch, and maybe potentially dinner, maybe Saturday morning breakfast, something like that. I think the question is sort of how we balance paid staff and how we balance volunteers. Is it realistic to expect volunteers to do the cooking? And can we rely on that? Or is it more realistic to expect volunteers to help sort of clear plates or load the dishwasher? You know, different communities have different models. The schools produce a whole lot more meals with their staff. You know, I think one of the questions is, would the schools be willing to take on running the food service operation of the senior center? It's a lot simpler than running, you know, the food service at Pollard or the high school. Would they be willing to do that? You know, we'd have to obviously make the money work, but like that might make more sense than, you know, me and you and Jess trying to figure out how to supervise a chef and, you know, do a performance evaluation for a chef.
We had priced it out with the schools less than a year ago when we were concerned about Springwell continuing, and the school was very willing to collaborate with us on that front. I just want to make sure that we're thinking that we're remembering that breakfast and lunch are two of our biggest programs here, so that disruption, we just have to be mindful about.
So right now, a number of the staff members are Serve Safe certified, so they know appropriate food handling and service techniques to not make people sick. the distinction we would probably have is that we would have to have those people specifically do the breakfast and lunch if we didn't have professional staff that we'd hired on our own. I think that it could be that we basically replicate what we have now in a different kitchen until we get funding for hiring staff to be, you know, a chef and a line cook and what have you. I think the ultimate goal is to improve the quality of the food, improve the flexibility, have the ability to, you know, have community dinners in-house that are made. I think, you know, the football team and the cheerleaders and the booster club having, you know, bringing in spaghetti and meatballs and pizza here seems like an opportunity where we can use the building. It can be nice for the community. We could make money so that the cost of meals for seniors is down if we had a kitchen that could actually produce, you know, 100 meals of spaghetti and meatballs. Kate, I saw your hand up.
Just kind of answer because of the dinner bell. I just wanted to make sure that was, if we're gonna do meals all the time. Because we just usually serve it, volunteers serve it, and you know, if you have to have a chef because it's a commercial.
I think we could.
People to do it instead.
I think we would need to figure that out. I think there's a lot of flexibility. I guess my hope is that this would give us more options because, you know, we could have themed events. We could have, you know, boiled cabbage and corned beef for St. Patrick's Day. We could.
We did.
Yep. So I guess the hope is that this would give us greater flexibility. It would also ensure that the traveling meals program is on secure footing, which is a big deal to myself and the Board of Health. I do think that the quality of the Springwell meals is not that high. The meals that go out to the traveling meals recipients are of better quality than what the seniors who are eating here get. That's not to say they're bad, it's just they are flash frozen and then reheated. As
No,
opposed to
the
being
town might
fresh.
have extra chefs, and if the school goes where they want, we could have 5 rocks now. That's great.
Excellent, okay.
You never know, might all fall together.
Hank, did you want to talk about the schedule?
Yeah, this is what you can't see, but we're finishing up now with the schematic design. We did do the cost estimates. The numbers are running higher than what we had looked at the feasibility stage, but that's largely because of the move of the game room to the second floor. And so the numbers you saw were construction numbers. To that, we will need to add the soft costs, the FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment costs. And so there will likely need to be an increase in the total budget. I think when you last went before FinCom, the three of you were very convincing, and they were saying, make sure you ask for everything you need.
Only time I've ever heard FinCom say that.
That is the first time I've heard them say that. So you have good pull. The intent would be to complete the construction documents by January so that the bidding could occur in February and March. So we would have bids in hand prior to town meeting, annual town meeting. But we really need to set the budget in terms of the capital improvement plan soon, this month and early next month. And so, Colleen, that's where we would need to, once we get those numbers coordinated internally, then we'll be taking those to you. We will be on the agenda for the PBBC. With Pollard on the agenda.
I know, we did that last time.
That'll be quick, won't it?
It will be late.
Right.
And what the PBBC is doing starting now is we're looking at starting the PBBC meeting at 7:30, adjourning it, or suspending it for an hour while we do Pollard, and then coming back to the rest of the agenda. And so you'll have to take a nap on Monday before.
Oh, Colleen will have to, I'll have to too.
Luckily, I can work on very little sleep, so.
You'll have to teach me.
If they could do it at 4:30 in the morning, I'd be proud.
Wow.
So the meeting this coming Monday, is gonna be mostly about the budget
Yes, I think
for this
we'll,
project.
I think we'll have the same set of slides, but most of them are repeats. And we'll be focusing on budgetary issues with,
Is that a PVPC meeting that you're
yes,
doing this coming Monday,
yes.
the 12th? 15th, sorry, yeah. The 12th is tomorrow, today, I don't even know anymore. Okay. So is that something that I probably should be at?
Or you could listen in.
I'd rather be
Zoom.
there in person.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm an in-person person.
I think Jeremy will be here in person and I'm gonna be on Zoom.
Okay.
That one.
And I believe that Catherine just sent out the agendas.
She did, yeah, about 3:30. So I really appreciate people being willing to sort of engage on the issues. I think one of my takeaways is to talk, to write down and try to put in some sort of chart or grid or something, the kind of trade-offs or decisions of, you know, if we do this, that will impact the veterans agent. If we do that, it will impact the staff in this way. If we do this, it will increase the cost, and try to figure out, you know, where the decision points are, and where sort of the happy medium is.
Yeah, I got, excuse me, one quick question. If I understood correctly, at the beginning of the meeting, you were saying this is gonna take construction over about 10 years. You mentioned the kitchen itself was gonna be about 6 months.
So the original plan for the capital submissions was that there were 7 projects identified in the feasibility study. The board wanted to pursue 5 of them. And the idea was essentially we would submit one project for design, then the next year we'd ask for construction and we'd submit another project for design. So there'd be like design, construction, design, construction. So like over the course of 10 years, 5 projects might be done, but they would be very small projects potentially.
During the course of the project, there's gonna be an awful lot of construction equipment, delivery, demolition, dumpsters, laborers.
It's not 10
Craft
years
people.
anymore, Ted.
So with all of those people coming and working, is there any concern, or what are the concerns relative to the parking that's gonna be lost for all of those people to park, as well as the equipment to be brought in? Any thoughts maybe about asking the MBTA to be able to borrow a portion of their parking lot so more people could park there during that interim? I know we had an event this morning, it was noontime for this meet and greet, deputy VSO. Parking here was all occupied. I mean, there's loads of people now that come to the senior center to partake in all the different events. By 10:30 in the morning, parking is all full here, and that's with no construction. So I'm wondering, any thoughts about which way to maybe handle that?
So part of the benefit of this board being pushy last year is that all of the construction is going to be grouped together and create a very big headache over a much shorter period of time. That is a benefit. I know when I see road construction on a bridge and it's like, you're going to inconvenience everyone for 6 years, or should you convenience everybody a ton for like 8 months? And I always lean towards, why don't they just make it terrible for 8 months instead of pretty bad for forever? So we will have a shorter period that will have disruption. That's not to say there won't be disruption. It will be very clear in the construction and bid docs that no construction workers will be allowed to park in the CAF-owned spaces. You know, I think Hank and Ken were talking to me a little bit about this, that I think it is $2 a day, or maybe it's $4 a day to park in the MBTA lot. That'll be the cheapest parking many of them have, right? If they go into downtown Boston, they either pay $40 an hour for parking, or they leave their car in the street and get a ticket and hope they only get one a day. You know, I think question of like lay down space and dumpsters is something we'd have to coordinate, but we wouldn't be looking to take away senior parking at the senior
Would
center.
would not.
I'm not saying we wouldn't have to take some of it, but if we did, we'd have to identify offsets, right?
Right.
Like maybe we have to take a little bit of space in the corner here, but then we can figure out how to lease 5 more spaces in the MBTA lot, or maybe we can lease space in the MBTA lot to put a dumpster. I don't know.
It took 8 months to negotiate with the MBTA.
5 years. I would say
5 years?
5 years.
We should start negotiating again for more space.
I would say
Yes.
5 years.
So, by making the workers, have to pay for their daily parking, they'll just build that into the construction costs. Dumpster location will likely want to be as close as possible when they're doing the demolition.
Right.
And so that would either end up being, probably would be adjacent to the back stair here. And hopefully that would be for a shorter period of time. Assuming they could do all the demolition at once. But it wouldn't be, the entire 6 months. And then, there'll be restriping and other things. The other part, which is the new generator, that's a project that building maintenance is overseeing. We're trying to consolidate those 2 construction projects. And that will require a cut through the parking lot and then repaving it in order to get the primary feed, electrical feed into the building. But that will not be coming in underneath the new vestibule. It'll be further down towards the MBTA lot. So there's a lot of logistics that we would have to go through. We understand that.
Yes.
But I think what we've heard from you is that, and others here, is that we don't want to lose parking spaces. And
Most
if we do
affirmative, yeah.
have to lose parking spaces, we got to figure out an alternative.
You have problems here right now with parking as it is, never mind occupying it with all that other equipment and delivery. Yeah.
Understood.
What do people do if they come here for a program and the lot is full?
Some people take off and don't come in, other people are, 2 streets over.
They park on Hillside Avenue on the side streets.
Yeah.
And all of them
I
send
think
emails
we built
complaining.
the building 10 years ago that we had a parking issue. This is not a new issue, but people wanted to be in this part of town, so there were trade-offs. And luckily, there's a lot of spaces on Hillside and the side streets.
Just don't trust anyone if they offer to valet your car, because we don't.
Yeah, we've known from the beginning we had a parking
Right.
problem, and there was literally nothing we could do about it. At one time, the staff had parking. Yeah, behind Blue on Highland, which was ridiculous because if they had to leave, they had to, so that went away. Yeah, so it's always been interesting.
It's quite a walk to go down Hillside School. There's plenty of parking down there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, but maybe we could get one of our buses to go back and forth on an event like that.
That's
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah, I think, I don't think that's an ideal long-term solution, but if that was a solution for 4 months, especially if those were summer months,
Shuttle them to a parking lot.
Exactly.
right, we'd have to talk to the superintendent. We can't make a commitment for that, but that might be a very easy thing to say. If people are willing to park there, we're gonna have a van that goes basically back and
Yeah.
forth all day long.
Or it might be an option for the contractor if they wanna go back
Yep.
and forth.
Do that.
And that parking is at a school?
There's a
Close.
former school, I don't know, 4/10 of a mile, 3/10 of a mile down the road.
Jeremy's very familiar with him. He did the interim temporary accommodation plans for the units just then.
The building isn't of necessarily all that much use to us in this context. It doesn't have a working kitchen still and that sort of thing, but it does have parking.
I know.
Part of the exercise program.
Oh, yeah, right, that one.
This room is closed, take a walk. Is there any more questions or discussion on the construction. That I'd like to move on.
Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Oh, one question. So you'll add maybe an additional amount because of the break room? So we might need to add more than just the 30,000 we have listed on this document.
Yeah, and we'll be putting together the full budget that includes the soft costs as well as the hard costs. And if additional furniture is required, that might be able to come out of, you have.
I do think, and and this is a delicate balance. I'm well aware that the DPW doesn't have a friends group that has to do fundraising for them. However, I do think that to the extent that the Friends of the Center at the Heights can actively raise some money and can contribute, not the electrical, not the plumbing, not the painting, but some of the nice to haves, like, I don't even know, a fancy coffee machine for the new kitchen, or all new flatware and silverware or something.
Ask the service groups to do that too. Rotary Exchange, right?
Yeah,
Women's Club.
but I guess what I want to say to this board is I will need your help working with the Friends group to instill in them the urgency of actively raising funds. Not saying we need a 7-figure campaign, but we do need to raise a small amount of money each year, I think.
And unfortunately, we usually have someone from the Friends here, but as it turned out tonight, neither of the two that normally come could make it, so, they didn't get to hear all this stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have some action? Do you have any action? Okay, thank you.
Check for you.
The game room is where the food is.
Copy here.
That's no problem. They can wait.
I will,
No.
yes, I will do that,
It's
sorry.
not a problem. They've already decided that. They know that. Yeah.
Pull it up in like, instead of in Adobe and something else. Yeah, I will just go like, ooh,
It had nothing to do with the weight. It was the floor.
go like that for a second.
It had to do with it had to be the fitness and the different
How you do it?
electricity and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we have extra.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they got a couple.
I think we may have gotten kicked out. Oh, Tim's trying to get us back in.
I think we've lost our video.
Yeah, we got kicked out, but Tim is working to get us back in.
Oh, he is, okay.
Yeah. enough.
And there you are, Sue.
So I was blocked. Waiting patiently.
I know, me too. Can you hear me? You can hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I can.
great. So Tim knows we've been knocked out?
Yes. Oh, I'm getting a text.
Okay.
Communicating with Helen. She's writing a long message.
Okay. How do we get back in there? I have no idea.
No, I think it's on their end.
Okay.
I don't know if he hung up on us or
I don't know what to do.
he had to restart. Well, I think she's trying to figure out what to tell me.
Who are you communicating with? Who you get?
With Helen Gregory.
Helen Gregory. Okay.
Oh, here we are.
Where's Colleen? She's coming to me.
Yeah, it's all right, Lee, and I was just wanted you to
Our
know that we were,
apologies.
gonna try to get.
Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Great, I'm back on. Great, thank you. Thanks, Colleen.
okay. Do you want to do a quick run through?
Yeah, if you want, I printed out my report. You know, there's nothing major. We're carrying on well. You're welcome to read it and it's up to you. Nothing urgent in there. We did welcome a new intern, which is exciting. I would say one thing we are looking for support in our community connection program. We need volunteers. That's our program that goes out in the community, helps people with odds and ends, visits, going on walks with people, running to the grocery store. We're getting a good demand of people looking for that service. We just don't have a lot of volunteers for that. So that would be my big ask. Other than that, sort of, you know, we're busy, but definitely very busy.
What are you asking for this?
Our community connections program, it's the replacement of our friendly visitor program. So instead of just visits, we're offering, you know, volunteers to run to the grocery store, the pharmacy, or change a light bulb. We had someone who broke their foot and needed their lawn mowed. We had a volunteer that could go their lawn, things like that. Or just people that want to visit.
Have you reached out to like the high school? Do they still need volunteer hours and stuff? or-
Yeah, we've done a good amount of just crisis coordination, she's done a good amount of presentations out there, but we're still working on it, so.
Any people longer than a Boy Scout troop?
Maybe.
Certain things.
Yeah.
Certain things they can.
Yeah, if certain kids were asking, they do it, I can do that, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because oftentimes it's going out into the community, it's not here. Yeah, trash, we do that, we have volunteers doing that.
There's certain things that the exchange service would also look at.
Yeah, we've used a lot of exchange fund
Yes.
volunteers in the past, but I think we were aware you guys actually trying to. Spread the joy, I'm sorry.
I know. I sent out an email for volunteers for the dinner bill
Yeah.
tonight. Normally I have so many, I have to say thanks, but I just took the top 4
Yeah.
that called up. I had one.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was just, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I never got that message.
Really?
The
The exchange program. Yeah. Okay.
But nothing else groundbreaking, feel free to read it and just let me know if you have questions. Yeah,
I don't know, do we have Shine?
they had to go.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine,
yeah,
that's fine.
Sorry.
And I don't know if there was anything.
There was something for programming
Okay.
and transportation, but I'll send it out tomorrow
Oh, all right, yeah, thank you.
instead of me trying to remember it. I did read it, but I'd rather for you to read it.
Okay, so we have the minutes of June 12th. Is there a motion to approve said minutes? Thank you. But any discussion, addition, subtraction, whatever we do to it? No, all in favor? Thank you. Sue, I saw your hand.
She was voting.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I was voting.
I know that.
Yeah,
I need to see either a yes or some indication that you've approved the minutes. Ian,
no, I approve.
thank you. Okay. All right. Some of you might might have been curious about my discussion about changes to the board. And I've been told that as chair, I have the right to change the board any way that I want. So aren't I good? So anyway, to start off, last June, Penny informed me that she no longer would like to continue as vice chair of the board. We appreciate what you've done. I understand, you know, your concerns and so on and so forth. So that opens up a vice chair position. I talked to Tim about adding a second vice chair and had a conversation with Sue and with Helen this summer as to the possibility of the two of them having interest in taking either one of those positions, with the idea that I would stay chair for another year. They would have a year learning process with all of this stuff that's going on now with the renovations, with budgeting and all that kind of thing. And then possibly take over the chair and move on from there. And it will depend on the board, how we handle that in the year. If in fact this works out, I would like to stay on the board after a year, but not in this position. So, discussion, questions?
Good idea.
Sounds good to me.
Approved.
So in that case, I would ask for a motion to establish the position of first and second vice chair. Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. And the next motion would be to nominate for myself as chair, aren't I nice? Sue Mullaney as first vice chair and Helen as second vice chair. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Okay, that was easy. And thank you, Sue and Helen, for taking these positions. I think that both of you will do a great job, and it gives you the time to really get into the nitty gritty of this, although, you know, obviously you've both been into it, but.
Is there a difference between first vice chair and second?
So the premise of the first vice chair would take over the chairmanship, and the second vice chair would take over the first vice chair. And if it's decided by the board to continue in that aspect, we would elect a second vice chair
Next year.
or just let it go. Yeah. Thank you for being so intentional. Working on it.
Pressure on.
Well, you know, I'm getting old and tired. Yeah. Okay.
Good planning strategy.
Yeah, I really looking out to the right, right. And we do, I do not believe, although I have not had official, announcement that Carol DeLevis will no longer be on our board, but health-wise, it looks like she will not be able to, yeah. So we will look to replace Carol. And then we should be all set. Okay, Ted,
Yeah.
short version.
Short version, yeah, I've got just a couple items, but the others I'll table for next time.
Sounds great.
The first one on top of the list, July 4th, the parade went very well in the town. We had some marchers, but we also had elderly guys riding the low bed. I again had the honor of using and running the bubble machine. Because it seems that in some cases, the bubble machine gets more reaction from the public as well as pets.
Right.
So that worked out pretty good. And we had a gathering after that at the post for some people that knew that the post would have something available. Our August 7th Purple Heart event went very well. Good attendance, a lot of participants. Extra thank you to Kate Roby for her cookies. Also
I go to all these events only because I know. Kate's making cookies.
She went above and beyond the Call of Duty because for that special event, she had heart-shaped
Yes,
cookies
yeah, she did.
with
purple.
yes, yes, kudos. The other one, I've got a couple that I'll table for next time. Some involve the information that I got briefly this morning from the VSO downstairs relative to the select board write-up on their Veterans Tax Workout Program. But the other one that I wanted to mention, I mentioned it at the last meeting that we had, that the state representative, Josh Tarski, nominated somebody for the annual Military Appreciation Day, the first time in the state of Massachusetts. I guess they're gonna keep it up. So unfortunately, I was the one that was nominated and attended, which was good. But since that time also, there was a write-up that made the VFW Post 2498 veteran receives the governor's citation. This made the state VFW magazine. So that's good because 2498 got notification notice in the magazine, which was good because they don't always make it.
Yeah.
So that brought them up to a space.
Is
So,
that you in both pictures?
pardon?
Is that you in both of those pictures?
That's right, me and the state rep.
Photos, Fred.
Basically, that's it. I got a couple of others, but I'll table it the next time because I gotta find out a little bit more information. One of them that I did do briefly, I mailed out and I had an acknowledgement from Heidi Frail this morning at our 9/11. She received it. I sent out packages to the 3 select board people relative to the Community Preservation Act exemption, not abatement, exemption relative to veterans. Not all veterans in the town, but those 10% service connected or more, but there'll be more on that some other time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I have one issue.
Oh, okay.
I know it's late,
Throw
but
darts.
Tuesday night is the hearing on 110 West Street before the planning board.
Yes, I plan on attending.
I plan on attending. So my issue is, I think it's gonna fly through. My issue is, how do we get seniors to apply for the 12.5% affordable housing? Affordable, I would say 80% of the seniors in Needham would qualify for that housing. If the annual median income is $220,000, and 80% of that, how do we get the developer to focus on senior people and Needham residents?
Go to the meeting.
Well, I'm planning on, I'm planning on.
Make that point.
Right.
But I don't, you know.
I'm sorry?
Would they have like an informational session for the community that they could attend?
Well, if you remember the last time that they were doing something with that building, they came here and made a presentation.
Right. and I-
Yeah, and I think that's something that we would ask.
Right, you know, one of the things in the Observer today said they want to hear from interested abutters. We're the closest abutter.
Oh, right, exactly, yeah. Okay, so you said Tuesday night.
Tuesday night at the DPW, I think it's 7:30.
Are we on at 7:30?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know the schedule.
My email is not working, so, I would have to, I'll send I'll check it and send an email out to everyone. No, I can't send an email out.
Can you call me and I can,
Okay.
have Andy to send it out?
But, you know, I think it's gonna fly through. I think it's really ironic, because the one that was probably, except for family members, I was probably in that building more than everyone, anyone. And the building, people often chose that building because it was a lovely building.
It was.
The care might have been lousy, but the building was nice. And that, the whole thing's coming back.
Yeah, they're gonna tear it down.
They have to.
Yeah.
But now they know.
Right.
Well, the way the rooms are set up, yes.
Yeah.
But it's interesting though, at Wingate, they preserve the lower floors. And if you've been, I'm very familiar with all of them, obviously. The first floor and the basement in Wingate, they're gonna make very little changes, but, you know, the care areas, they will make changes.
Yeah, and I was at a planning board meeting when they first came and presented, so somewhere in my house, I have their plan. So we'll see what happens on
That's, I
Tuesday
just
night
wanted to think.
for whoever wants to, go. But obviously Dan and I will definitely be there. Okay, if there's nothing else, I would,
Motion to adjourn.
thank you. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Right.
Tomorrow,
Okay.
tomorrow is their strawberry shortcake.
Right.